Thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. So HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit where you get fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. So as summer comes to a close, you can savor every single last drop and enjoy all of the delicious flavors of the season right from your home. While HelloFresh also delivers fresh, quality produce from the farm right to your door in like less than a week, it also effortlessly saves you time, money, and stress. According to one of their surveys, it's 72% cheaper than dining at a restaurant or going to the grocery store. HelloFresh also offers veggie, pescatarian, and fit and wholesome meals to make it easy to stick to your goals. One of the better things about them is that they're the first carbon neutral meal kit company and nearly all of their packaging is recyclable. So I actually went ahead and made their sheet pan Monterey Jack unfried chicken with roasted carrots, potato wedges, and sriracha mayo. And again, as someone who has utilized the service multiple times, it was all very simple and easy to use. All I had to do was literally follow these 6 simple steps, pop the tray into the oven, and voila! Dinner was served. So if you guys are interested, you guys can go to HelloFresh.com and use my code ellias16 for 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. So again, everything will be linked down below, and thank you once again to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. Alright, here we go. Hello everyone, how's it going? My name is Elias, and in today's video I'm bringing to you guys a huge, ginormous summer wrap-up all the way to the beginning of May to essentially the end of August. So I'm currently in a reading slump at the moment, and I just decided to not waste any more time so that I can hopefully get my mind, off some of these books that I've been thinking about for a long time, because in this pile, there are some fantastic reads in here and some really, really bad ones. Potentially like the worst of the year. Also, if you hear any background noises, that's my fan because it's like 90 degrees here and in this room and I fucking hate it. So we're not gonna waste any time because I have around 36 books to show you guys and talk about, and it's gonna be a while. So sit back, stress, or relax, up to you. Get a snack, get a meal, get a drink, and let's get into it. The last wrap-up video that I made since was back in April, which was like 4 months ago, and that has been a while. I only talked about the 3 books I read during that month. However, in the next subsequent months afterwards, I think June was like my best reading month where I read over like 15 books or something like that. I would say regardless, from May to August, there were some really good reading months. Actually in August, probably my second best reading month overall because I read so many books and so many pages and completed like a whole trilogy within like a week. I was pretty proud of myself, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So first up is Book of Night by Holly Black. I actually made a whole video regarding my thoughts about this book. It's a reading vlog where I read one of the most anticipated reads of the year. And suffice to say, spoiler alerts, it was not that good in my opinion. I thought it was okay. I thought the characters in here weren't fully fleshed out or developed. I felt like the stakes in here were really heavily exaggerated and I could not vibe with the main character at all. I couldn't even tell you what she likes aside from the fact that her boyfriend is a sweetheart. I think that's pretty much it. He's the only character that I really liked. I also like the fact that this book already had like an established relationship, so there was like very little romance in here. It was sort of like a mystery with this girl running around town trying to figure out the murder mystery in here, if you will. In my mind, in hindsight, when I went to this book, I was going into it thinking we were going to get some like epic fantasy book, but it wasn't really any of that. So you guys can check out the rest of the vlog. I'll leave it here somewhere on the screen. So 3 out of 5 for this one. So the next one, also a disappointment, is Reprieve by James Hahn Matson. I think I gave this one 2 out of 5 stars. Did I? Yes, I did. I read this for the Late Night Book Club, and I feel like this was, in terms of marketing, it was done all wrong. I thought we were getting a thriller/horror book when it came to this escape room with some of these characters. However, majority of this book relies heavily on like flashback and background character information. And it was funny because the majority of this book, you already know who dies. So by the time you get to the end, there's literally no payoff. I feel like if it was marketed differently, I mean, who knows? It could have been an altogether different story, but it wasn't. It was more like a literary mystery, if you will, with some horror elements sprinkled throughout here and there. But other than that, I thought it was okay. All right, so next up, I read this fun YA fantasy fairy trilogy called Pawn, Knight, and Queen. This is the Fae Games trilogy by Karen Lynch. Overall, I thought it was just like a really fun, simple trilogy. And honestly, in my opinion, I thought they were a lot more fun and better than a lot of the other YA fantasies that have come to light. So it was just one of those YA fantasies where you just read for fun and pretty much remember nothing of it ever again. But from what I can remember, it's pretty much about this young girl who gets embroiled and caught up in this political scandal regarding fairies, the Fae Prince, and his bodyguards, essentially. So in this world, the fairy realm and the human world have collided with each other, and it has created these portals that allow fairies to traverse onto the other side. And so it was really interesting. It really reminded me of the Cool Prince series by Holly Black. So if you read that series and you really enjoyed it, then I think you might like this one. Overall, I had a good time. I binged all 3 of the books in like one sitting. So I think I gave each of them a 4 out of 5. Why fantasy? 4 out of 5 from me in like who knows how long? We love to see it. All right, so now we are moving into the month of June. And first up in that month, we have Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. I actually made a whole video about this, talking about this book, another reading vlog, so you guys can check that out. But suffice to say, surprisingly, I actually had a lot of fun reading this book. I think I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. I mean, objectively, if one is going into this, reading it sort of like at a critical sense and, you know, just analyzing everything, I mean, come on. The title speaks for itself, okay? I know that this is book 1 of like 22 or something like that. Yeah, 22 books in this series, in this world, regarding blue-tailed aliens getting along with human women in order to mate them, get them pregnant. That's essentially the plot of this book. I mean, overall, it was just all kinds of stupid, ridiculous, and honestly, really offensive at some parts. Trigger warning for, you know, sexual assault and rape. But aside from that, we have this blue-tailed alien who has ridges all over his body, on his tongue, down there, if you know what I mean. Who knew ridges could just add 10 more levels of pleasure and pain? So yeah, I have a full reading vlog about it. You guys can definitely check that one out. So, alright, so the next book I read was for the Late Night Book Club, and this was The Phantom of the Opera. I thought it was mediocre when it came to most of the classics that I have read. Compared to those classics, I feel like this one was rather short-lived. I honestly did not know that this was like a famous musical. I only found out after the fact, after reading this book. Noelle actually sent me a couple of the links for the music in the show. And I was blown away. Blown away. It was so good. I mean, compared to this book, I feel like overall it elevated the story in general. I mean, made it 10 times better than what I actually read. It was less the premise and more the character choices that were made for me regarding this book as to why I didn't really like it. I mean, Frankenstein is just like top tier. Frankenstein's up here. This one would be like down here. At the end of the day, I gave this like 2 out of 5, I think. I thought it was okay. It wasn't anything great. It wasn't very memorable, in fact. I mean, I don't really have a lot of things to say about this, so. Alright, so the next book that I read in June is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This is literally one of my favorite books of all time. I think for me, it has sort of surpassed Song of Achilles for me. I mean, Starless Sea is still up there, my all-time favorite book, and I think this one comes at like a close second or third. Everything about it was just so beautiful and just so different from any other book that I've read before. It was just so, I can't even really describe it. It's so weird and strange. Everything about this book just transcends everything that I know about life in general. Like, I know it don't make any sense right now, but I feel like this is the type of book where you should go in without knowing literally nothing. I know some people get really annoyed when they're like, oh my god, I know that everybody says go into this book blind, not knowing anything, blah blah blah. Trust me, the less you know about this book, the more rewarding it'll be. I feel like the experience of finding out the things that happen in this book for yourself, the character progression, and just the writing in general, everything about it is just so enchanting. I'm not gonna even tell you what this book's about, because if I do, I feel like I would do a disservice, okay? Just know that it's literally one of my favorite books of all time. And like, it just really struck me, hit me really deep in like all the right places. I mean, what do I even need to say? I think if you're looking for some of that hidden lost magic that you found as a kid, something akin to reading the Chronicles of Narnia by like C.S. Lewis or something like that, I feel like with this book, you might find it here again. This is like stirring the childhood pot of forgotten dreams and memories. Very reminiscent, very nostalgic. Definitely highly recommend. 10 out of 10 for me. Alright, so the next book that I read is called The Prince of Sorrows. So for this one was really interesting because the premise to me sounded so good. It's about this young boy who was swapped with a challenging when he was a baby. And so he's taken into like the fairy realm, where he accidentally learns the true name of a high fae prince. And so he, along with like a bunch of humans, are servants at this prestigious school for the Fae. And in a nutshell, it was pretty gay as can be. I mean, overall, it was a lot of fun, but I did give this one a 3 out of 5. I thought it was good, but not great as I thought it would be, just because I feel like the potential didn't fully reach like there for me. There were a lot of like clunky sentence structures that didn't really work out for me. A lot of the character decisions in this book, I was just like, why? Why did you even go there? But overall for me, it was just like story pacing and like structure. But yeah, it was just fun. It was fine. So before we get into the final stack of books, we're gonna be talking about manga, because manga, I want to say, makes up the other half of the amount of books that I read. So first up, we're gonna go with I Hear the Sunspot by Yuki Fumino. So the story itself follows the relationship between these two boys, one of whom has a hearing disability and the other guy is his note taker. I think I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was okay. It was fine. Definitely, though, you can tell that this is like the first book in a series. I was on a huge manga craze, like manga roll, binging manga, and I purchased the entire 5-book series. This was also one of the first dialogue-heavy manga that I've ever read. I mean, the ratio, the amount of dialogue compared to the artwork didn't really balance out for me, if you will. And altogether, this was just cute. It was fine, and I am looking forward to reading the rest of the books in the series. Alright, next up, I read volumes 1 through 7 of Spy Family by Tetsuya Endo. I mean, what else do I even need to say about the series? It was just so wholesome, so cute, so engaging, and so much fun. I mean, found family? Check. Heart, suspense, and action? Check. Great story, great characters, great interactions? Check. Everything? Check. I really liked the series. I loved how it was like really fun and engaging, while also having some like darker, edgier moments as well, while not being too heavy-handed, if you will, because a lot of manga, like the plot and substance in these books, are just like so graphic and heavy-handed sometimes, where it does take me out of the story just a little bit. But Spy Family, chef's kiss, 10 out of 10. I actually have yet to still complete and finish the anime, but as far as reading the first part of Spy Family, finished. Next up, I read volumes 1 through 11 of Chainsaw Man by Tatsuki Fujimoto. This series, how do I even say this, was so chaotically evil. It was just so fucking fun. There's also going to be an anime adaptation of this that's coming out soon. I'm not sure, but it's also from the same company that brought you Attack on Titan. And so I'm very excited. I saw the trailer and everything about it just looks so good. So this series primarily follows this young boy who makes a pact with his demon dog, and in doing so, becomes Chainsaw Man. And in this world, people are aware of like these demonic creatures, and there is sort of like this police subdivision that sort of takes care of these supernatural creatures in order to avoid being killed by this police force and hunt other demons. In doing so, he finds like other conspiracies, other friends, and love. Everything about this was just so bloody, so gory. So if you weren't aware how gory it was, it's very gory. I would definitely rate it like in the higher adults mature category, especially if you can't stand like body gore or body horror. But overall, I loved it, had a fantastic time, and honestly, can't wait for a reread. So manga is finished. Next up is Matchship and Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. I already talked about the series in depth at full length with a dedicated video talking about this trilogy overall and why you should read it. I mean, just go watch that video. Robin Hobb, overall, for me, is literally the best fantasy writer I've ever read in my entire life. She is just up there for me, at the very top, number uno. I mean, even beating out every other fantasy writer that I've ever read. I mean, there's just something so groundbreaking, so real, so humanistic regarding her characters and their flaws that is just astronomically astounding to read from. Honestly, when I'm like recommending her books, it's sort of like a disservice because I am not doing her any justice when I'm like describing or talking about these books, because they are just that fucking good and amazing. And I just cannot explain or have the right words to talk about them, like the correct or right mindset for it, if you will. I already made 2 full dedicated videos talking about the first 2 trilogies in the series, and 10 out of 10, fucking loved it. And guess what? After I finished that trilogy, I went ahead, purchased and got the 3rd trilogy in this series, the Tawny Man trilogy. Read and completed the first week of August. Each book is longer than 600 pages, while the second book is around 800 pages. And I finished it in the first week of August, no cap. It was just, I'm speechless, no words at the moment. You know how I said like the second trilogy, the Last Trader trilogy, was like the best fantasy trilogy I've ever read in my entire life? I have no fucking idea how she does it, but I was wrong. This is the best fantasy trilogy I've ever read in my fucking entire goddamn life. You can also bet that I will be also making another dedicated video talking about this trilogy, and so that'll probably come out at the end of the month or so. But holy fucking shit, coming back into this POV again, into Fitz's world, was just so majestic in every way. Oh my god. So if you didn't know what the series is about, and if you're like fucking lost, you should definitely check out the first video in this series that I did and made. I'll leave a link to it somewhere on the screen, but I'll just give you guys like a really quick gist and summary. First trilogy follows the adventures of this young boy named Fitz. You're essentially reading from his perspective the entire trilogy. First person point of view. Then you move on to the second trilogy, which is the Last Trader trilogy. And that one actually takes place further down south with like a whole array, a plethora of characters. Also, different perspective as well. It's third person. And you're following these different characters, their stories, their fantastic arcs, sea serpents, pirates, different kind of magic. And it was just overall so good. And then into this one, this third trilogy. You're going back to Fitz, back to his world, back to his POV. And 15 years later, oh my god, the reunions, the gatherings, the character meetups, everything about it. A full video, okay? You'll be expecting a full video from me with this. If you're asking, if you're confused on where to start, like literally I have the video somewhere on the screen where you can check that one out first. So you can check out and read that series, that trilogy first, because this is the third one, okay? She has like 16 books, and yes, I already have the other series after this one. I believe the next one is called the Rain Wild Chronicles, because it's not a trilogy, it's 4 books. 4 books before the last and final trilogy. I don't think I've ever used the word trilogy so many times in a video in my life, but there you go. Legitimately one of the best fantasy series of books I've ever read in my entire damn life. Please read them. Alright, so next up I read The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. So this one I actually read with Kayla for her book club. This one I gave around 2 out of 5. However, I didn't fully hate it, okay? I think my expectations were a little too high in regards to his other books around the night, which I just fucking hated. It was literally, legitimately one of the worst thrillers I've ever read in my entire life. But this one, I was expecting sort of, some redeeming qualities. Did I get that? I don't know. This one primarily follows this renowned actress who spies across her neighbors across this lake, and she apparently hears something that she's not supposed to see. We have that, that trope, and so we're following this trope, which Riley sort of has never done before. But did he put a new spin on it? Was there like anything new about it? Not really, but that could be like another conversation in of itself if it was like done deliberately in order to like lead you away into a falsehood of security regarding the plot twist that this book has to offer. I mean, you can check out the last show we had for this book. It was a really great conversation between Nakia, Kayla, and I, but it was just overall really fun. But the plot twist in here, gotta hand it to him. I've never read anything like it before. That was different. However, was it really worth it? I think in the long run. Did it really make any sense? I think objectively, that's up to you, the audience, the reader, to figure out for yourself, because while I did enjoy some of the plot twists that this book has to offer, I didn't fully get into the story or the characters overall. I mean, the main character of this book gets drunk so many times, but yet she's able to function and she's able to see with a pair of binoculars something that's happening like just hundreds and hundreds of feet away while she's also being intoxicated with a pair of binoculars. At night, if you will, at that. Just little things like that, but I'm nitpicking. So at the end of the day, it's a 2 out of 5 for me. And I heard that he's only coming out with like one more thriller next year before he like takes a big break. Hopefully he ends his game strong. I mean, I guess it's safe to say his biggest plot twist for me was giving his books 1 and 2 stars prior to the other books where I gave like 4 and 5. So I guess you can call that range, if you will. Last but not least, we have Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I fucking hated this book. I read this for the Late Night Book Club, and I cannot tell you how bad this was. This was the worst book I've ever read in my entire life. I don't even know how to describe this book. It's essentially about this runaway bride who goes to the small town after getting her twin sister's message for help. When she arrives in the small town, she finds out that her twin sister is like hated by everyone because she's like a total bitch, okay? And when she gets there, she meets the guy that mistakes her for her twin sister. And this guy is like grumpy as fuck. Like he has like such a poor, bad, piss attitude. And of course, it's like a tragic backstory to explain it, right? But literally, he is so fucking mean. The things that he says to her is so demeaning and so belittling, and he manhandles her so many times throughout this book, where I'm just like if I saw this and heard all that in real life from this man, jail time. Don't really have anything much to say about this book. I don't even want to talk about this book because it gets me infuriated. I'm so mad. This was literally almost 600 pages. You see the size of this book? It's a romance book, and it was almost 600 pages for what? For all these stupid side characters that we had to learn more from, that we had to read from. Obviously, in the small town, where everyone finds like a boyfriend or girlfriend of some sort, there are obviously gonna be more books in the series regarding these characters in this small ass town. I mean, if you really, you know what? I'm done. I'm not even talking about this book anymore. If you want to know all of our thoughts, just, I don't know, more stuff about it, you can go watch the live show regarding this book. I know it may seem like trivial and lazy while I'm like referring you to like all these videos and all that, but with this, fuck it. Fuck no. I'm done. This was literally the worst book ever read in my life. 0 stars. I am not giving the disservice that this book has to offer a 1 star. I know that you read to escape, that people are like, oh, romance, you gotta suspend your belief, you just read to escape. I get it. I read to escape too. However, this did not fucking work at all for me. I will literally never get over reading this book. So there you go. Alright, and there you have it, all 35 books that I have read from May to August. Hopefully the next upcoming months will be, you know, as plentiful or even more, but we'll see, considering that half of the stack is contrived of manga books, which really greatly helps improve the amount of books that I read. So please let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of these books, what did you guys think of them, and what have you guys recently read as well. Alright, so thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all soon with a new video.